serving the Cayman Islands. Cayman Pharmacy Group, with a location in West Bay and professional pharmacy at CTMH Doctors Hospital. The Cayman Pharmacy Group has a location for you just around the corner. Seaboard Marine, with over 35 shipping ports, find your shipping solution by calling 949-4977 or visit seaboardmarine.com for competitive rates. Rotary Central, for more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects. Fidelity Bank, for all your banking needs, visit fidelitygroup.com. Fidelity, we're good for you. And Roper's Janitorial, complete janitorial service for commercial, industrial, and residential. They get the job done right every time.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Coming to you live from Radio Cayman Studio.
For the record.
For the record. For the record. Hear from your government officials, independents, and the opposition on issues that matter to you. For the record. Engage in an open dialogue between residents and lawmakers.
For the record.
For the record. For the record. Informative, impartial, insightful.
This is your talk show.
1-800-534-8255. Your calls, your input. This is For the Record. And now, your host, Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome to For the Record. Today is Wednesday, the 28th day of August 2019. I trust that everyone had an enjoyable evening, peaceful, restful as well. Those of you who are on the roads of the Cayman Islands, again, if you're a pedestrian, cyclist, operating any type of motorized vehicle on the roads of the Cayman Islands, we urge you to be extremely cautious on the roads. Kindly ensure that you observe the rules of the road, and always remember that the life you save may be your own. Of course, all schools, I believe, are now back in session. Today is the day for all government schools to open. I think Monday was reception, Tuesday, primary schools, and today, now all of the schools, including the high schools, will be open as well. I want to talk somewhat later on about transportation, the buses, the lawlessness on the roads of the Cayman Islands, especially now that schools are open again, and the need for drivers to observe the rules of the road, because we continue to hear stories about drivers who are impatient, who violate the rules of the road by crossing buses when they're discharging their very valuable passengers, as well. So we want to talk some about that. We want to talk about education, whether or not the importance of private schools in the Cayman Islands, the preponderance of private schools in the Cayman Islands, and whether or not we're creating a dual society as a result of that. Hopefully that discussion can take place as well. We had the MLA for Northside on Mr. Ezra Miller scheduled to be on the show this morning, but it appears as if he is traveling, so he will not be here. So a little bit too late now to arrange for any additional guests. So we're going to have an open line all morning for you to discuss issues, and I will prompt you at times with some topics as well. Folks, I want to thank you for allowing Radio Cayman and, by extension, For the Record, into your homes, into your vehicles as you traverse the busy roads of the Cayman Islands, into your places of work, whether it be an office cubicle or if you're working in the outdoors. As you know, For the Record is a show produced by the staff and management of Radio Cayman, and it is geared towards keeping you abreast of issues as they arise and play out on the local, regional, and international scene. I am your host, Orrett Connor, and you're welcome to join me every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 7:30 a.m. until 10 a.m. Our phone lines are always open during that period. You can call us on our toll-free number provided courtesy of Flow, that toll-free number, 1-800-534-8255. You can also call us on 949-8037 and 949-6990. Email us at fortherecord, that is one word, fortherecord, at candw.ky. WhatsApp us on 925-3261, where you can send us a text message, leave us a voice note, the contents of which will be played during the course of the show. And, of course, you can follow us on YouTube simply by subscribing to Radio Cayman live stream. And, of course, to accept your calls in the studio, none other than that beautiful radio voice of Miss Susan Watson as well. Those of you who are celebrating birthdays today, we want to wish you a happy birthday as well. Those of you who celebrated birthday in the past few days, a belated happy birthday to you. And those of you who have lost loved ones during the course of the last few days, last few weeks, again, we extend our sincere condolences to you, and we hope and trust that your faith will help to carry you through these very, very challenging times. Speaking of birthdays, we have been advised that Mr. Rayburn Ebanks, he will be 80 on Thursday. So since For the Record will not be on Thursday, we want to wish in advance Mr. Rayburn Ebanks a happy 80th birthday when it arrives tomorrow, Thursday, the 29th of August. Mr. Rayburn Ebanks, we're advised, is originally from West Bay. He is a former seaman, and he is now a street-side vendor near Jose's gas station on the Smith Road, Crew Road area there. Mr. Rayburn Ebanks, I'm sure that many of you know him. If you when you cross him this morning, if you're in your vehicle, you may just want to tap your horn. And I know I'm encouraging you to blow your horn when it really shouldn't be used. A horn should be used to alert people as opposed to greet people. But we know on the roads of the Cayman Islands and all over, universally, people use their horns also to greet other drivers when they see them on the road. You may want to, or if you're a customer and you stop and you're patronizing Mr. Rayburn Ebanks this morning as well, or tomorrow morning, you want to wish him a happy birthday. 80 years old, quite a milestone, and we want to. And yes, I believe earlier this morning on my way in, Miss Susan mentioned also and was wishing happy birthdays to Captain Gleason Ebanks. Also, if you have any further details that you want to give about Captain Gleason Ebanks, please do so. Send it to For the Record at candw.ky, and we will read that for you if you have some interesting comments about Captain Gleason Ebanks as well. So, as we said, we're going to have an open line all morning. What else? Oh, yeah, I want to give a big shout-out to Mr. Dave Smith and Miss Lynn Smith. They're listeners, regular listeners to For the Record as well. And Dave, I just want to tell you, I don't have anyone to throw the mic at this morning. Usually Dave has a big joke about that when I say, okay, I'm going to throw the mic over to my guests for them to speak. No one to throw the mic over to this morning, Dave. I want to thank him also for the barracuda, the fish that he and his wife gave us, me and Alan Moore as well. So I want to thank him for that. Lots of things to talk about. What's happening in the UK? The headlines over there is the headline is the Prime Minister in the UK has requested the Queen to suspend Parliament. This suspension, it appears, would be to prevent, or some people believe that it is being done to prevent the issue of Brexit being debated in Parliament. So there's an article in the BBC newspaper, and again, when I read this and we talk about this, you constantly hear us talking about the United Kingdom not necessarily having a written constitution. So lots of things occur based on custom and tradition. So people have been wondering what's going to happen as far as Brexit is concerned, whether or not there's going to be an early election sometime in October, whether or not that's going to take place. There was speculation yesterday when the Chancellor of the Exchequer delayed his speech. Some speculation that was delayed because there are likely to be early elections called. Some speculation now that whether or not the Queen accepts the requests by the Prime Minister to suspend Parliament, if that doesn't occur, whether or not the next step will then be to ask for early elections to be called. There are indications that Jeremy Corbyn, who's the leader of the opposition party, the Labour Party, has also requested an audience. So I'll share the article with you. And it was only published about 22 minutes ago. And it says that the government has asked the Queen to suspend Parliament just days after MPs returned to work in September and only a few weeks before the Brexit deadline. And of course, the Brexit deadline is the 31st of October. Boris Johnson said a Queen's speech would take place after the suspension on the 14th of October to outline his very exciting agenda. But it also means that the time MPs will have to pass laws to stop a no-deal Brexit on the 31st of August would be cut short. So there would not be time for them to pass any laws to stop a no-deal Brexit. What is a no-deal Brexit? A no-deal Brexit is the UK leaving the European Union under the terms without any agreed terms, without any decision on the Irish backstop, for instance, leaving on their own terms. What the Prime Minister has also said that the 30-something billion pounds or euros that are due to the EU would not necessarily be paid to them if they leave the European Union without a deal, that they don't feel that they have to pay all of that money that they would have to pay under the deal as well. This article also goes on to say that the House of Commons Speaker John Burkhoff said it was a constitutional outrage. Of course, He didn't cite any particular section of a constitution. He couldn't cite any particular section of a constitution because they do not have a written constitution. The article goes on to say the speaker, who does not traditionally comment on political announcements, continued. He's quoted as saying, however it is dressed up, it is blindingly obvious that the purpose of suspending Parliament now would be to stop MPs debating Brexit and performing its duty in shaping a course for the country. And the article then goes on to point out that the Labour leader, Jeremy Corbyn, said he has written to the Queen to request a meeting as a matter of urgency and between any final decision and before any final decision is taken. He's quoted also saying that suspending Parliament is not acceptable, not on. What the Prime Minister is doing is a smash and grab on our democracy to force through a no deal, he said. Smash and grab. He uses a term that thieves, usually jewelry thieves, use, that is used when jewelry thieves break into a store, smash the glass, grab what they can get, and leave. So Jeremy Corbyn is he's actually equating Boris Johnson to a jewelry thief of sorts. Time for us to take a commercial break. Folks, please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
The Cayman Islands boasts of a long, colorful, and rich history. In tribute to our roots, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the Historical Vignette Series, sponsored by Cayman National Bank. Visit Cayman National Bank today for all of your financial needs. The Cayman Islands, he hath founded it upon the seas.
The Cayman Islands has a rich history of recognizing sports and recreation as an important element in the social and economic development of these islands. In 1935, Governor Cornwall organized the first regatta for catboats and schooners, both as a social event and as a means of encouraging tourists visiting Jamaica to come to the Cayman Islands. By 1947, it was recommended that every school should have a sports day, followed by the first inter-school sports day held in 1949. By 1976, the Cayman sailing team was in the Olympics, followed by the island's participation in CARIFTA, Central America and Caribbean Games, Pan American Games, the Commonwealth Games, Island Games, World Championships in athletics, and World Cup qualifiers in football.
Radio Cayman's historical facts vignettes are proudly brought to you by Cayman National, with branches on all 3 Cayman Islands. Visit Cayman National Bank today for all of your financial needs.
When you need stability, think Business of the Year.
Considering a new career opportunity, think Best Place to Work.
When dependability matters, think Outstanding Workforce.
In need of a reliable financial partner, think Bank of the Year.
When you seek excellence, think Cayman National.
No matter how many accomplishments we achieve, we always set the bar higher. That's why we are the most awarded bank in Cayman, and we are proud to be your
2018 Bank of the Year.
Have you seen the latest? Cayman has been ranked the most expensive place to live. It's time to buy smart. It's time to buy Ropers. Find everything for your home and kitchen at low prices at Ropers. Ropers Janitorial, 949-2511. Email janitorial@ropers.ky. Clean up your spending with Ropers Janitorial, 949-2511. Ropers Janitorial also offers complete janitorial service for commercial, industrial, and residential. They get the job done right every time. Ropers Janitorial, 949-2511.
It was a day that changed my life. No words can describe the feelings of seeing my baby boy sick for the first time. The overwhelming feeling of fear to be responsible for his health and happiness became my priority. So I did what any nurturing mother would do when their baby is sick. I took him to get some of the best medicine possible.
CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy understands the importance of careful decisions you make every day for your family. Our staff work towards healthcare excellence and providing the most current and up-to-date training with pharmaceutical care, so you can feel confident in knowing that your family is safe with the right medication. At CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy, we take care of your health.
I'm going to Vant Motors to test drive the new 7-seater Rush.
They have some really sweet deals going on now, not true?
Yep, on SUVs. And they sweeten the deal by giving you a warm oven-baked cookie with each test drive.
Better test drive more than one, just to be sure.
Take a test drive for a sweet surprise this month at Vant Motors. Test drive any SUV and receive a freshly baked cookie. It's our way of saying thanks for dropping by to check out our huge sale on every SUV in stock. Save up to $4,400 during Vant's summer SUV sale. That's every SUV in stock on sale for thousands off or cash back. Sweeten the deal only at Vant Motors, Walkers Road.
At Seaboard Marine, customers often ask us questions about their shipments.
Hi, I'm thinking of buying a car from the States. Which port do you ship out of?
Hi, we ship out of Miami, Houston, and Brooklyn. Just let us know your port of choice and we can provide you with a quotation and answer any questions you may have on insuring and protecting your vehicle during its journey.
Shipping shore to shore, Seaboard.
Sometimes things just don't go as planned. That's why you need Contractors All-Risk Insurance from Fidelity Insurance Brokers. Ensure you're covered in the event of property damage and third-party injury or damage claims during your construction projects. And with Fidelity Insurance Brokers, you can be sure you are getting competitive pricing and superior customer service. Call us today for a free quote. Fidelity, we're good for you.
In 1996, Rotary Club Central led the way initiating a disaster fund to prepare and assist our community toward recovery. The Rotary Clubs of the Cayman Islands then expanded this valuable instrument, the Rotary Cayman Disaster Fund. Thereafter, Rotary District 7020, a group of 86 clubs over 10 countries in 16 islands across the Northwest Caribbean, grew this idea, the Rotary District 7020 Disaster Fund. Today, this Rotary Central idea has worked relief and recovery, assisting communities throughout this region. Rotary, with you before, during, and after. Rotary, connecting the world.
System 1 loaded.
1-800-534-8255. What is on your mind when it comes to the government, independence, and the opposition? Issues that matter to you. 1-800-534-8255. Waiting to hear from you. For the Record.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. No guests in the studio, so we have an open line all morning. We have about 7 minutes, less than 7 minutes before we go to the 8 o'clock news. So if you're interested in calling in, my advice to you would be wait until after the 8 o'clock news, around about 8:15, and that will give you more time to talk. You know that when there are no guests in the studio, I'm usually a little bit more liberal when it comes to the amount of speaking time that a person gets, especially if you call in early during the show. If you wait until about 10 minutes before the show is due to close down and you call in, then you're limiting your time as well. But I want to continue this discussion about the British Prime Minister requesting the Queen to suspend Parliament and the lack of a written constitution. So they're going basically by custom and tradition and convention, as opposed to having hard and fast rules in relation to this. So again, to summarize what was said earlier, the Boris Johnson has requested the Queen to suspend Parliament just days after MPs return to work in September. So they will return to work in September, and he's asking them, the Queen, to suspend it, and that's only a few weeks before the Brexit deadline. Some see it as a way, the Prime Minister using this as a means of preventing MPs, members of Parliament, from debating Brexit issue or from putting any roadblocks in his way, in particular preventing him from leaving the European Union without any sort of a deal whatsoever. Of course, this news will have ramifications financially and otherwise. I believe already there is some indication that the pound sterling, the value of it has already dropped as a result of this announcement. We'll see what happens there as well. Some of you may wonder, well, what does this have to do with the price of land in the Cayman Islands? Well, we're a British overseas territory, and naturally, while it may not have direct ramifications on us, there will be some impact when the UK leaves the European Union. There will be some impact on the overseas territories as well. But going back to the whole issue of precedents and the lack of a written constitution, the article in the BBC goes on to speak about legal precedent and challenge. And it points out that shutting down Parliament, known as prorogation, happens after the Prime Minister advises the Queen to do so. The decision to do it now is highly controversial because opponents say it would stop MPs being able to play their full democratic part in the Brexit process. A number of high-profile figures, including former Prime Minister John Major, have threatened to go to the courts to stop it, and a legal challenge led by the Scottish National Party's Justice spokeswoman Joanna Cherry is already working its way through the Scottish courts as well. The BBC royal correspondent, or a BBC royal correspondent, said it was established precedent to prorogue Parliament before a Queen's speech, albeit generally more briefly and rarely, if ever, at such a constitutional time. This royal correspondent also said that it was Her Majesty's government in name only, and it was her role constitutionally to take the advice of her ministers, so she would prorogue Parliament if asked to. So it appears as if some royal correspondents feel that if the request is made, the Queen is likely to honor that request. She is not expected to let her personal views dictate her decision. And the article goes on to say, while it is not possible to mount a legal challenge to the Queen's exercise of her personal prerogative powers, and just bear that in mind, folks, here, it is not possible to mount a legal challenge to the Queen's exercise of her personal prerogative powers. So that means that any personal prerogative powers that Her Majesty has in relation to the overseas territories, we will not be able to challenge it in court, anything that she does under her royal prerogative. And there are sections in our Constitution that speaks to the royal prerogative as well. The article goes on to say that BBC Legal Affairs correspondent said that a judicial review would be launched into the advice given to her by the Prime Minister to determine whether the advice was lawful. So they can possibly launch a judicial review on the advice given, but they cannot judicially review her decision as well. We've reached that time of the morning, top of the hour, 8 o'clock news. When we return, I will continue with this article, have lots more to share with you, have an article in the Tradewinds newspaper. Just a few weeks ago, I had the pleasure of attending a function where Cuban Caymanians were celebrating their arrival, 50 years of arrival in the Cayman Islands, and I want to share some of those articles with you as well. So please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
Thank you, Mr. Connor. Studio time by Price Right is 7:59.
Price Right is Grand Cayman's warehouse shopping superstore, making your dollar go further with huge savings and no membership fees. Get more of the things you use every day at the right price. But it's not just grocery and health and beauty. Price Right has a full range of products from office to automotive, patio furnishings to kitchen appliances, and even electronics. And since warehouse prices mean savings for you, everything is priced right at Price Right, Grand Cayman's warehouse shopping superstore.
The voice of the Cayman Islands.
89.9 FM in Grand Cayman and 93.9 FM in Cayman Brac and Little Cayman.
Silver wings shining in the sunlight.
Radio Cayman.
Access and information. Your community. News and information. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
With your latest news, I'm Karsley Fuller. The Royal Cayman Islands Police Service is in the early stages of a scoping exercise with the Public Works Department around the construction of a new police station in West Bay. Commissioner Derek Byrne tells Radio Cayman the current police station on West Bay Street is in, quote, very poor state and beyond economic repair, with a number of structural deficits and health and safety concerns that are well documented. He says a new police station is necessary to meet both the current and future policing needs of the district and the island. More than 2 acres of Crown land off Barabanu Road have been identified as the site for the new complex and have been cleared as foundation requirements are determined. Police are early on in this exercise, and there's no estimated cost for the overall project. The range of building options are also still being considered. The current time frame is about 2 to 3 years. This week, it's all about water. Details from CIG TV's Donna Bush.
This is World Water Week, and the local water authority is celebrating this week by releasing important information to the Cayman public. The water authority is focusing on inclusiveness and ensuring everyone in our society has access to water. This week, they've been exploring the various ways the water authority works to meet its mission of supplying the people of the Cayman Islands with safe drinking water and sanitation services. Plus, it is also a week of big giveaways. You can check out their Facebook page to find out more about World Water Week and what they're doing to educate the local public.
In regional news, Tropical Storm Dorian strengthened overnight as Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands were warned to brace for hurricane conditions with possible heavy rains and flash flooding today. The National Hurricane Center said in its 5 a.m. update that the storm could hit Florida as a Category 2 storm by late Sunday or early Monday. Overnight, winds picked up to 60 miles per hour as the storm made its expected northwest turn, and a hurricane watch was issued for the U.S. Virgin Islands. U.S. President Donald Trump declared an emergency Tuesday night and ordered federal assistance for local authorities. Dorian is expected to strengthen into a hurricane as it approaches landfall on Florida's east coasts. Parts of Florida could expect 4 to 8 inches of rain and up to 10 inches in isolated areas later this week and early into next week. Now with a check of international news, here's the BBC, which will take us out of the newscast. I'm Karsley Fuller from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
BBC News with Debbie Russ. The British government appears to be stepping up its efforts to thwart any move by MPs to block a disorderly Brexit. The government is to ask Queen Elizabeth to suspend Parliament for an extended period shortly after the summer recess. That would limit the time MPs have to pass legislation, a no-deal exit from the European Union at the end of October. The Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, has insisted that the move is nothing to do with Brexit, but is connected with his legislative agenda. However, the Speaker of Parliament, John Bercow, dismissed that claim. He called the move a constitutional outrage. Critical talks are taking place in Italy aimed at the formation of a new government. There are just hours to go before a deadline set by President Mattarella, who's meeting party leaders. Much will depend on whether two parties, the centre-left Democrats and the populist Five Star movement, can work together after the far-right League walked out of the previous coalition. Afghanistan's Taliban militants say they've almost reached a final agreement with the US on a deal that would see American forces withdraw from Afghanistan. The Islamists would agree not to make the country a haven for other militants. The two sides have been holding a 9th round of talks in Qatar to end the 18-year war, but the Afghan government has been excluded. Fighting is continuing to rage in northwest Syria between pro-government forces and rebel and jihadist fighters. Activists say that more than 50 combatants were killed on Tuesday around Khan Sheikhoun, a key town that government forces recaptured last week. The governor of the Mexican state of Veracruz has vowed to punish those responsible for an alleged attack on a nightclub that killed at least 23 people. 13 were seriously injured. Veracruz is riven by fighting between drug gangs. BBC News.
Access and information. What's happening in your community? News and information, music and more. You can find us. www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
There are plenty of reasons to be a Logic customer. There's lightning-fast internet connectivity. There's the great overall customer experience. And now, you can improve your Wi-Fi connectivity with Logic Boost Wi-Fi for free. With Boost, you can extend your freedom to stream, game, and download seamlessly anywhere in your home, like your patio or your underground lair if you have one. Sign up now for any Logic Bundle package and get free Boost Wi-Fi for a limited time. Visit logic.ky for details.
Support our port, support our tourism.
I support building the piers because the cruise industry puts millions of dollars into our economy each year. Without that revenue, young people like me risk facing an uncertain future. Learn more and spread the word.
Looking forward, looking bright. Support our port, support our tourism.
The Weather Report is proudly sponsored by Super Stitch Sewing and Fabric Center, your one-stop household store at 39 Pasador Place, Smith Road. Still offering the best prices in town. Call 949-2833 or go to superstitch.com.ky.
Thinking of decorating your home or your apartment? Then Super Stitch is the place for all your household needs. We have sheets, comforters, bathroom accessories, curtains, and a whole lot more. We are the original curtain store with curtains for every room in the house. Summer special now in curtains for $10 a panel. Yes, just $10 a panel. Come see us today at Super Stitch. Super Stitch, your one-stop household store at 39 Pasadora Place, Smith Road. Still offering the best prices in town. Call 949-2833 or go to superstitch.com.ky.
Good morning. Time for the latest weather report. Synopsis indicate light northeasterly winds and slight seas will continue across the Cayman area for the next 24 hours due to a slack pressure gradient over the northwest Caribbean. Additionally, upper-level conditions will become favorable to support some showers tonight and into tomorrow. Radar images show isolated showers around the Cayman area, which are drifting towards the west. The National Hurricane Center in Miami, Florida, is issuing advisories on tropical storms Dorian and Erin. Tropical storm Dorian was located near 17.1 north and 64.1 west. It's about 60 miles southeast of St. Croix, with a maximum sustained winds of 60 miles per hour and moving towards the northwest at 13 miles per hour. Tropical storm Erin was located at last check 32.5 north, 72.4 west. It's about 265 miles southeast of Cape Hatteras, North Carolina, with a maximum sustained winds of 40 miles per hour, and is moving towards the north-northwest at 6 miles per hour. The system posed no threat to the Cayman Islands. If you need additional information on these systems, you can log on to www.nhc.noaa.gov. Now the forecast for the Cayman Islands for today, calling for partly cloudy skies with a 30% chance of showers. Temperatures will be in the low 90s with a heat index of 109 degrees Fahrenheit. Winds will be northeast at 5 to 10 knots and seas will be slight with wave heights of 1 to 3 feet. Forecast for tonight, calling for partly cloudy skies with a 40% chance of overnight showers and possible thunder. and temperatures will fall to the upper 70s. Your winds will be northeast at 5 to 10 knots, and seas will be slight, with wave heights of 1 to 3 feet. We're presently at a high tide, and the next low tide will be this afternoon at 1:59, and a high tide again tonight at 8:29. Sunset 6:42, sunrise tomorrow morning at 6:10, and the outlook is calling for an increase in cloudiness and showers from Thursday morning, along with light northerly winds and slight seas. That's the very latest on your weather report.
Superstitch Sewing and Fabric Center was the proud sponsor of the Weather Report, your one-stop shop for all of your household items, craft items, jewelry, beads, and decorations, and much more. Call Superstitch at 949-2833 or email customer care at superstitch.com.ky.
Thinking of decorating your home or your apartment? Then Superstitch is the place for all your household needs. We have sheets, comforters, bathroom accessories, curtains, and a whole lot more. We are the original curtain store with curtains for every room in the house. Some special Nolan curtains for $10 a panel. Yes, just $10 a panel. Come see us today at Superstitch. Superstitch, your one-stop household store at 39 Pasadena Place, Smith Road. Still offering the best prices in town. Call 949-2833 or go to superstitch.com.ky.
Always ensure that food preparation utensils are washed with a strong detergent and rinsed in hot water in the event that they have made contact with flood water. Boil silverware for 10 minutes and immerse glass, porcelain, china, and plastic items in a solution of hot water and 10% chlorine bleach before use. For more post-hurricane food safety tips, visit DEH website at deh.gov.ky.
For the Health of It is heard on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. and on Saturdays at 9:30 a.m. It is brought to you by Holy Cross Hospital. Quality medical care and advanced technology with sincere compassion and understanding. Our mission is you. Call 1-954-351-5906 or visit Holy Cross Hospital at holy-cross.com.
The traffic report is brought to you by Subway. Planning a meeting, event, or office celebration? Visit subway.ky to place your catering order today.
Good morning once again. Let's take a look at what's happening on our traffic. Lots of patience and slight delays expected as you're coming from the east on Shamrock Road and the Linford Pearson Highway. Heavy traffic. And traffic is steady coming off of the Linford Pearson Highway on Agnes Way. Steady traffic as well on Huldah Avenue. Traffic busy on some sections of Cool Road, other sections, steady traffic. As we look at what's happening on Godfrey Nixon Way, traffic is flowing moderately, and also on Eastern Avenue. Light to moderate traffic flow coming from the West Bay four-way stop. Edward Street traffic flowing moderately, and no issues on Shedden Road as traffic is flowing pretty good. And light traffic on Owen Roberts Drive, and coming from the West Bay four-way stop, nothing to worry about too much as traffic is light to moderate. And looking at Thomas Russell Way, traffic is moderate as well. That's very latest on your traffic. Join us again at about 10 minutes after 12. We'll update you traffic-wise. And if you see any accidents or incidents on Cayman's roads, give us a call here at Radio Cayman at 949-6990. Have a good morning and buckle up.
Introduce yourself to the Fresh Fit 6-inch Whey at Subway.
That's 7 subs that have 400 calories or less.
These are healthier choices made with fresh options, making healthy delicious.
Choose from roast beef, the Subway Club, or Veggie Delight.
There's oven-roasted chicken, turkey breast, black forest ham, and sweet onion chicken teriyaki.
With 400 calories or less and loaded with flavor, enjoy the Fresh Fit subs at Subway. Available island-wide and 24 hours a day at Anderson Square and Centennial Towers.
The traffic report is brought to you by Subway. Planning a meeting, event, or office celebration? Visit subway.ky to place your catering order today.
Steve Higgins Productions,
in association with the Lions Club of Tropical Gardens,
the Cayman Islands Cancer Society,
and the De Silva Family Trust presents
Music of the Hearts. A fantastic evening of excellent music presented by Delia Winter,
April Marr,
and Steve Higgins at the Marriott Beach Resort, 7 Mile Beach, Sunday, September 1st, 2019 at 6 p.m. Sponsored by
Harney's,
Applebee,
SMP,
NCB Capital Markets,
Jamaica Tourist Board,
and Radio Cayman. Tickets $25.
Available at Funky Tanks,
Super Stitch, or any member of the Lions Club of Tropical Gardens, or call
925-9134.
That's 925-9134. Proceeds will go towards the Cayman Islands Cancer Society and the Lions Club of Tropical Gardens. That's Steve Higgins and friends in Music of the Heart. Sunday, September 1st at the Marriott Beach Resort. Don't miss it!
Support our port, support our tourism.
Did you know the cruise berthing facility will not cause flooding in Georgetown? In fact, wave walls will be built in addition to the piers, and marine engineers say that this could reduce the force of incoming waves. Learn more and spread the word.
Looking forward, looking bright. Support our port, support our tourism.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system. For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. No guests in the studio this morning, so we have an open mic. Toll-free number 1-800-534-8255. You can also call us on 949-8037, 949-6990. Email us at For the Record. That is one word, For the Record, at candw.ky. WhatsApp us on 925-3261 as well. And if you don't want to do any of those things, just simply follow us on YouTube. And you do that by subscribing to Radio Cayman live stream. I started the show off this morning by talking about the breaking news in the United Kingdom in relation to the Prime Minister requesting Her Majesty the Queen to suspend Parliament. And some of you may say, well, what does that have to do with the Cayman Islands? And I want to draw a parallel situation to here in the Cayman Islands, what the possibilities are when it comes to this people's initiated referendum, which I will talk about. We'll get to soon. You may say, well, it's taking you a long time to get to the point. I'm trying to do it in an orderly fashion that you or listening and viewing audience can follow as well. So, some may ask, why is Boris Johnson embarking on the course that he has embarked upon? Well, first of all, some writers pointed out that Boris Johnson secured his place at number 10 Downing Street by promising that he would do whatever it takes to leave the EU by Halloween, 31st of October. So they see this decisive and intensive risky plan as being able to satisfy many of those who backed him in the first place. Now, bear in mind that there are people in his party who support a Brexit, leave the UK leaving the European Union. There are those who do not support it as well. There are those who support it with a no deal, while there are those who support it but want to ensure that that there is a deal, because there are risks associated with both, with whatever choice is made in terms of leaving the European Union as well. So Boris Johnson made that promise that he would do whatever. If he became Prime Minister, he would do whatever it takes for the UK to leave the European Union. He has also seemed to have gotten the attention of the EU leaders, the Commission, and others by saying that he is prepared to leave without a deal as well. And as a result of that, they have already made some concessions to him, and quite possible that they may make others as well. They have insisted so far, however, that the Irish backstop is not negotiable, but at the same time, they have given Boris Johnson an opportunity to come up with an offer, come up with a solution to see whether or not it is acceptable to them. So we will wait and see what happens, what the Queen does in relation to Boris Johnson's request, whether or not she honors the request of Jeremy Corbyn to give him an audience as well. And we will also wait and see what the results of the legal challenges are. Bear in mind what I pointed out earlier from this article is that a legal challenge may be mounted in relation to the advice given to the Queen by the Prime Minister. But once she makes a decision under the royal prerogative, that decision cannot be challenged in any court of law. So I want to bear that in mind. Now, let's go to the Cayman Islands Constitution. Cayman Islands Constitution Order 2009. First of all, I think on Monday, the last update, regular progress update on the verification process. As of the 24th of August, 4 p.m., they had reached 93.7% in the of the verifications. So we would expect 6.3% left to be verified. That should take place fairly quickly. I would imagine by the end of the week that should be done. So, verification process, again, because of the absence of any legislation as regards to referendum, either people-initiated referendum or any other type of referendum. As a result of the lack of that, we saw the request being made that those signatures that were submitted, that they be verified. Right? Section 70 of our Constitution reads that without prejudice to Section 69, and Section 69 has to do with referendum in the power to provide for a referendum. So Section 70 says that without prejudice to Section 69, a law enacted by the legislature shall make provisions to hold a referendum amongst persons registered as electors in accordance with Section 90 on a matter or matters of national importance that do not contravene any part of the Bill of Rights or any other part of this Constitution, right? And then the Section 70 goes on to lay out certain conditions. And it says that before a referendum may be held under this section, there shall be presented to Cabinet a petition signed by not less than 25% of the persons registered as electors in accordance with Section 90. That particular section was partially satisfied, and a wrench was thrown into that by seeking the verification of those signatures. Then another proviso is that the Cabinet shall settle the wording of a referendum question or questions within a reasonable time period as prescribed by law. Now, I'm going to read that again because I'm not a lawyer, but the way that words are placed can alter their meaning or can determine a person's understanding of it, right? So it says that Cabinet shall settle the wording of a referendum question or questions within a reasonable period of time as prescribed by law. Now, is that wording saying that what has to be prescribed by law is the wording of the referendum question, or the reasonable time period has to be prescribed by law? Or is it saying both things, that you have to have prescribed in a law the wording of the referendum question as well as the time prescribed for that to take place? Just asking the question because we're not certain. And then C says that the Cabinet shall make a determination on the date the referendum shall be held in a manner prescribed by law. And then, of course, subsection 3 states that subject to this Constitution, a referendum under this section shall be binding on the government and the legislature if assented to by more than 50% of persons registered as electors in accordance with Section 90. Now, how does this equate with the situation in the UK as it stands now? Because there are no prescribed timelines, and because it is the government of the day that determines when the Legislative Assembly shall meet, despite the fact that there are provisions in our Constitution as to how many times, I believe it is, that the legislature should meet, and I will find that and read that to you. It is up to the government. Now, many people are saying, how can the government ignore what the people have decided? Well, when you say the people, you're talking about a minority of the persons registered, because we have over 18,000, probably more than that, over 18,000 registered voters. So you get 5,000 or probably like 20,000. You have 5,000 plus signatures requesting a people's initiated referendum. And that's all the Constitution calls for it to legally happen. But you still have another 75% of the population that has said absolutely nothing in regards to a people's initiated referendum. So the question is, can the government take its time in doing what is necessary? Remember, the Constitution says a reasonable period of time for this to happen. Whether or not that reasonable period of time has to be then stated in legislation, or whether or not this process that it speaks about, that the settling the wording of a referendum question or questions, whether or not that has to be within a reasonable period of time. And again, unless reasonable is defined, it is up to the government. Now, some people may say it may be political suicide for the government to go against the wishes of the people. But bear in mind, so far the wishes of the people that have been expressed is only expressed in 5,000 plus signatures, as opposed to the other 75% that are out there and have said absolutely nothing in that regard. We have a caller. We have a break. I'd prefer to take the caller if we can, because that caller may have been waiting for... Oh, okay. Control room has said we take the break. First caller, hang in there. We're going to take a quick break. When we return, we will take your call, so please stay tuned.
Congratulations, it's a boy.
During the greatest events of your life, whether or not you have the right health insurance coverage should be the last thing on your mind. That's why at Fidelity Health, we are committed to helping you get matched with the right plan to suit you and your family. We offer a range of plans to suit your budget, plus access to a network of quality care throughout the Caribbean and the USA. You can relax and enjoy life's greatest moments when you are covered with Fidelity Health. Call us today at 949-7822 for a free quote.
It was a day that changed my life. No words can describe the feelings of seeing my baby boy sick for the first time. The overwhelming feeling of fear to be responsible for his health and happiness became my priority. So I did what any nurturing mother would do when their baby is sick. I took him to get some of the best medicine possible.
CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy understands the importance of careful decisions you make every day for your family. Our staff work towards healthcare excellence and providing the most current and up-to-date training with pharmaceutical care, so you can feel confident in knowing that your family is safe with the right medication. At CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy, we take care of your health.
I'm going to Vant Motors to test drive the new 7-seater Rush.
They have some really sweet deals going on now, not true?
Yep, on SUVs. And they sweeten the deal by giving you a warm oven-baked cookie with each test drive.
Better test drive more than one, just to be sure.
Take a test drive for a sweet surprise this month at Vant Motors. Test drive any SUV and receive a freshly baked cookie. It's our way of saying thanks for dropping by to check out our huge sale on every SUV in stock. Save up to $4,400 during Vant's summer SUV sale. That's every SUV in stock on sale for thousands off or cash back. Sweeten the deal only at Vant Motors, Walkers Road.
Hey, are those new glasses on Will?
Yeah, we went to Optical Outlook. Wham, bam, easy exam. Finally, an exam he could pass. And we had the glasses the next day. Easiest part of our back-to-school shopping for sure.
Book your child's eye exam today at Optical Outlook. Call 746-2020. Get half off a complete pair of glasses with any student's eye exam now until August 31st. Come see the difference with Optical Outlook, located in Caymanian Village.
Terms and conditions apply.
System 1 loaded.
1-800-534-8255. What is on your mind when it comes to the government, independence, and the opposition? Issues that matter to you. 1-800-534-8255. Waiting to hear from you. For the Record.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. No guests in the studio, so we have an open line this morning and we have a caller on hold. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Hi, good morning, O.C.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm well, and you?
I'm fine, thanks.
Good. Well, see, I have a couple of questions because there seems, the country embarked on a very, very major project.
Mm-hmm.
Just late last year, when Cayman Airways board of directors were very proud and pleased to come and say that they were acquiring these maps, which I didn't see the need for them. They could have got some 800s like what we had, which would have been adequate. They have said, we're going to go to Denver. Well, they're using 737 for 300s to go to Denver now, seemingly without any problems. There is an inherent problem here with this situation. I mean, there's numerous delays. You cannot even guarantee that you're going. I mean, that you're going to get to your destination on time. You know, there's sometimes 7-8 hour delays. My question is, did we sign ourselves into a deal that we can't get out of?
Mm-hmm.
And if we did, then I believe there should be some resignations on the table, because there should never be where you sign into a contract that if it's the fault of the manufacturing company that you're not able to eject yourself from that deal, for the lack of a better word, and move on and acquire. I mean, they could have gone on and acquired Airbus. Airbus seems to be quite reliable, but I believe. Well, the question I have for the management or the board, so to speak, of Cayman Airways this morning: did we put ourselves into a deal that we cannot get out of? And if so, may we, by 4:00 this evening, have resignations from Air Board member and the CEO, because it is really, really unbecoming. And you know, you gotta wonder, OC, and a lot of people don't like to hear me talk, but I'm speaking the truth and I'm speaking what is right. I sit and I look at this government. Do people realize what this government has done to us? Or they don't realize our memory is just the size of a pea. Look at the school projects. Okay? Hundreds of millions of dollars. Look at Cayman Airways. We bought, I believe it is 4 or 3 aircraft that cost over $100 million each. Again, hundreds of millions. We're looking at the port that they're spending money on every single day advertising to build this port. Again, hundreds of millions of dollars. Are we going to allow the PPM-led coalition government to bankrupt this country? Are we going to allow that? People, we have to wake up. And this is not a campaign slogan, because I ain't sure as hell running for no politics, but I am just the layman out there looking back and seeing what is taking place in the country. And at the end of the day, it's going to be all of us that had to pay for it. The sad thing about it is all of us don't have the fortitude that those 19 members in the Legislative Assembly have, and that is, we have to work until we are 65 to earn a pension, a halfway decent pension. They work one term, and theirs are secured. What a sad indictment on a little island. What a sad indictment on the people of the Cayman Islands. People is not watching and listening and seeing what is going on in this country. Look at those infrastructure projects that I just outlined. They can ultimately bankrupt this country. But nobody's looking at that. They're just looking at, oh, well, you know, we got a lot of construction going on now. Oh yeah. All right. Make the U.S. economy continue down. You tell me we're going to stop.
Yeah, caller, before you go, and someone raised this in a discussion that I was having the other day, and I don't recall whether or not the management of Cayman Airways indicated when they, and I'm probably sure that they probably did, indicated when these the aircrafts were being acquired, whether or not they were being purchased directly from Boeing, or whether or not they were being leased from a third party. Because some people are raising questions as to whether or not Cayman Airways will be able to claim any indemnity from these companies, Boeing, because of the result of the defect, if in fact they didn't have dealings with Boeing but had dealings with a third party, and whether or not any agreement with a third party included that. I think it is the right of the Cayman Islands, people of the Cayman Islands, to know that, because if there will be losses incurred as a result of it, the people of the Cayman Islands will have to pay for it, and they should know why they're having to pay for it if they have to.
Well, see, when this deal first brokered, I remember, or let me just say, to the best of my recollection, I understood it that we were going directly to Boeing and purchasing these aircraft.
Mm-hmm.
That is what I understood. But always, you never hear the truth in Cayman. You never hear the truth. And especially when it deals with the taxpayers' money, you never hear the truth. There's always an underlying factor, and that we never know until the deal goes sour. Now, it seems to me, and again, I don't know any intricate details, but it seems to me, because you see other airlines raising up all kind of stake against Boeing, who went and dealt directly with Boeing, but we didn't do that, it seems to me, and now we don't have a leg to stand on. And as far as I'm concerned, the board of directors and the CEO did us wrong, and they should do the noble thing and resign. That's what they should do. You see,
well, I think, caller, we need to find out whether or not wrong was done before, because no one has said to us, well, what steps are being taken to receive any type of compensation for the losses incurred. So until we know that, I don't think that it is reasonable to ask for a resignation until we know what has actually transpired.
Perhaps I'm a bit radical in that regard, but then let me ask you the other question, right? Is we're having all of these delays. And I remember years ago when Cayman Airways had problems with aircraft being down, we would hire companies out of the United States to sort of pick up the slack.
Yeah, what they call wet leases, I believe, right. Something like that.
But now my question is no. Why is that so difficult now? Is it because we owe these people money and we not pay them or something? It got to be something like that, or see, because I mean, let's face it now. Let's face it. You can't see the airline causing people delays 12, 14 hours. But I can tell you what, if a minister traveling, I can tell you one thing, it ain't going to be that long a delay. That plane going to be diverted and made sure it get to his route. Corruption, pure corruption, we'll see. And it got stopped. It has to stop. They mightn't like me, but love my message. Have a good morning, Ossie.
Thank you very much, caller, for that. We have another caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Yes, good morning, Mr. O'Connor.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
Okay, and good morning to the listening public also. My greatest concern right now, Mr. O'Connor, is the garbage dump. We can do all other things such as the port, the airport, our financial center, tourism. We can do all that to make our country better.
Mm-hmm.
Finding employment for our unemployed Caymanians. We can do all that. But my greatest concern right now is the garbage dump. Every day that we all put garbage in front of our house, it's making the situation worse. And the government doesn't seem to have a solution. And
why do you say that the government doesn't seem to have a solution? What's your evidence to support that?
Well, I haven't heard anything, Mr. O'Connor.
Oh, okay.
I haven't heard anything. And
have you been listening, though? Because we have had people on this show. There have been statements made in relation to talks, discussions that are being held with certain entities in relation to disposal of garbage and the dump. That is taking place.
Okay. Well, it's why we are in this situation now, where the garbage dump is, and the situation the garbage dump is in, because of government ignoring the seriousness of it. And Mr. Ard McLean spoke already on your show, saying that they did not want it in Bordentown because the same situation that we're facing now in Georgetown would occur in Bordentown also. So by him saying that, and you're saying that the government is in negotiations with companies I think it's best for them to let us know what the solution is. What is their solution? Because 15 years from today, with a population of 100,000 people, is going to only make that situation worse. And as we're talking right now, on a daily basis, as long as they're putting more garbage in that garbage dump than what they're taking out. Because you said they have a solution. So I hope their solution is...
No, I didn't say they had a solution. I said that you seem to indicate by what you say that the government is doing absolutely nothing about it. Now, bear in mind, I am not a defender of the government. Just trying to ensure that there's a balanced discussion and there's a balanced view on this. I didn't say that the government had a solution. What I said was that the government has indicated that they are in discussions. They are seeking a solution to the issue, and they're seeking, an entity to provide the services for rectification of this whole process to deal with the issue of waste in the Cayman Islands.
Okay, Mr. Orrett Connor. Let's just use common sense here now, okay? Just common sense. If the government is not taking out more garbage on a daily basis than what they're putting in, that garbage dump is not going anywhere. Mm-hmm. So what is their solution?
Right. Bear in mind, too, that the government is putting it in there, and the government is creating some of that refuse themselves. But we, the people, is coming from us, including you. I'm sure that you generate some garbage, as a result as well. So it's all coming from us. The question should be also included in your statement. What are we as individuals doing about it to reduce our consumption or to be selective in the products that we buy to ensure that they are environmentally friendly as well, my friend?
Okay, Mr. Orrett Connor, let me ask you something now. Has the government did their part in banning certain things that come into the island that we have to buy them in whatever they come in?
No, they haven't done enough in that regard. They have not done enough in that regard. We have taken one little small step in relation to plastic bags at the stores, and you pay 5 cents if you want to get one. You're still making them available. So I would agree with you. No, the government has not done their part in that regard.
Okay, Mr. Orrett Connor. Mr. Ard McLean said the other morning, if we recycle, it's going to be too expensive. Mm-hmm. And countries are not wanting to take anybody else's garbage, even if it concerns being recycled.
Correct.
Right? That's what Mr. Ard McLean said now. He's the opposition leader now. He's the opposition leader. So, if recycling is not part of their plan, then what solution does the government have then, Mr. Orrett Connor?
We need to wait and see. I understand what you're saying, that it's taken too long. Something needs to be done. I believe that something is being done about it. It's a pressing issue, not only in the Cayman Islands, but worldwide as well. It is a pressing issue. And I feel confident that it is one that the government cannot ignore and that the government is not ignoring. Caller, I want to thank you very much for that. We have to go to a commercial break. When we return, the conversation will continue here on For the Record.
It was a day that changed my life. No words can describe the feelings of seeing my baby boy sick for the first time. The overwhelming feeling of fear to be responsible for his health and happiness became my priority. So I did what any nurturing mother would do when their baby is sick. I took him to get some of the best medicine possible.
CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy understands the importance of careful decisions you make every day for your family. Our staff work towards healthcare excellence and providing the most current and up-to-date training with pharmaceutical care, so you can feel confident in knowing that your family is safe with the right medication. At CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy, we take care of your health.
Have you seen the latest? Cayman has been ranked the most expensive place to live. It's time to buy smart. It's time to buy Ropers. Find everything for your home and kitchen at low prices at Ropers. Ropers Janitorial, 949-2511. Email janitorial@ropers.ky. Clean up your spending with Ropers Janitorial, 949-2511. Ropers Janitorial also offers complete janitorial service for commercial, industrial, and residential. They get the job done right every time. Ropers Janitorial, 949-2511.
In 1996, Rotary Club Central led the way initiating a disaster fund to prepare and assist our community toward recovery. The Rotary Clubs of the Cayman Islands then expanded this valuable instrument, the Rotary Cayman Disaster Fund. Thereafter, Rotary District 7020, a group of 86 clubs over 10 countries in 16 islands across the Northwest Caribbean, grew this idea, the Rotary District 7020 Disaster Fund. Today, this Rotary Central idea has worked relief and recovery, assisting communities throughout this region. Rotary, with you before, during, and after. Rotary, connecting the world.
The cruise berthing facility will be paid for by the cruise passengers who use it and not by our people or our government. This is a win for Cayman. Support the port. Support our tourism.
Looking forward, looking bright. Support our port. Support our tourism.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system. For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. I want to remind you that we have an open line this morning. No guest in the studio, so we're taking calls, talking about various subjects. Hope I have enough time to read this, share this with you. If not, share part of it now and part later. I spoke earlier about my privilege of attending a function hosted by Cuban Caymanians who were repatriated to the Cayman Islands 50 years ago, and they were celebrating 50 years since their arrival in the Cayman Islands from the Isles of Pine, Cuba. In an issue of the Tradewinds newspaper Thursday, the 31st of August, 1967, an article written by Miss Ardith Smith, and she points out in that Arlene Naomi, the first Caymanian woman to be released from Cuba, returned home 2 weeks ago. So she returned on the 17th of August 1967. And the article goes on to point out that during her first 5 years in Cuba, her father, Captain Byron Ebanks, and other members of her family were there. They later went on to live in the United States. During that time, Naomi was married to Commandant Francisco Barcelo, who 13 months later and before the birth of their daughter Elizabeth was killed in a mine explosion. Goes on to say that following the tragedy, Naomi had a serious breakdown for 6 years and was hospitalized. When she recovered, she wanted to return to Cayman, but her father-in-law would not consent for Elizabeth to leave Cuba. When she saw the change taking place, he consented, but the government objected to the departure. And then the article goes on to say that a year ago, one of the Barcelo brothers escaped to Miami and started preparations for Elizabeth and other members of his family to join him there. These are now nearing the top of the list of the 186 persons who are permitted to leave Cuba daily for the U.S., and it is hoped by November they will be expatriated. Another route to freedom by visas granted by the Spanish embassy at a price. There are 77,000 persons in Cuba now waiting to get out of his means, and 34,000 already in Spain waiting to enter the United States. So this was a period where people all over were trying to leave Cuba, going to other countries, and then trying to get to the United States. Article goes on to say that 2 years ago, Naomi was notified by the British Embassy that the government of the Cayman Islands was willing to pay the traveling expenses of any Caymanian living in Cuba who wished to return home. When she signed the list, more than 70 others had already signed for their release, and the number totaled over 200. But the Cuban government did not cooperate. When the British Consul told Naomi over 6 months ago that the situation was hopeless and she would not get back home under the existing circumstances, she wrote to her brother in Cayman for money to pay her way out through Mexico by Cuban Airlines. The fare was sent through the Royal Bank of Canada to the National Bank of Cuba, and 9 days later she was notified of the fact, but with the exchange of 92 Cuban cents to $1 American dollar, the amount proved insufficient, and she had to send back to her brother for the extra sum. This arrived 26 days later through the Bank of Montreal. She then notified the Cuban immigration that she had money for her transportation. Her passport was in order, and she was ready to leave the country. 45 days later, June 2nd, a police officer from the immigration department checked her house and papers, which met his approval, and told her to wait for further notice from the immigration department. On August 1st, she was notified that her flight arrangements to Mexico was made for August 4th. The cost of the ticket was $209. She was met by the British consul in Mexico, who took care of her there and saw her on a Mexican plane bound for Jamaica on August 6. The consul took charge of her passport and informed her that it would be returned on the receipt of £9 for cost. Time for us to take a commercial break, I believe, Miss Susan. And we have a caller on hold, so we're going to take the commercial break. Okay, I will continue to read until we're ready to take the commercial break. We'll take the caller afterwards. It says, during the 10 days that she was in Jamaica, the British High Commission paid for 8 days of her board and lodge and transportation, and the airline, on failure to transport her on August 14th, paid her bills until her arrival here on August 16. Once having stated intentions to leave Cuba, the right to work or earn money is forfeited. Naomi, who does machine embroidery, was fortunate in that she had her own sewing machine and could thereby earn enough to pay for the scanty rations that her coupon book allowed. As an average of this, in 3 pounds of rice, 1 pound of lard, quarter pound salt monthly, and 1 ounce of coffee, quarter pound of meat weekly, half pound of Irish potatoes every 15 days, 2 breads for every 5 persons in a household daily, 1 4-inch bar of washing soap, 1.5-inch bar of bath soap monthly as well. Those were the rations. Time for us to take a commercial break. When we return, have a caller, and then I will continue to share this article with you about Arlene Naomi, first woman to be repatriated to the Cayman Islands from Cuba in 1967. Please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
Radio Cayman. Radio Cayman's newsroom. These are the biggest stories right now.
Arguments for and against same-sex marriage in the Cayman Islands head to the Court of Appeal today. Chantel Day and her partner Vicky Baden-Bush are presenting their appeals in the civil case against the Deputy Registrar of the Cayman Islands government and the Attorney General. In March, the Cayman Islands Chief Justice ruled that same-sex marriage would be legal in the territory. However, government appealed the decision. The UK government has asked the Queen to suspend Parliament just days after MPs return to work in September and only a few weeks before the Brexit deadline. Boris Johnson said a Queen's speech would take place after the suspension on October 14th to outline his, quote, very exciting agenda. But it means MPs are unlikely to have time to pass laws to stop a no-deal Brexit on October 31st. The governors of the 9 Brazilian states most affected by a record number of fires have urged President Bolsonaro to accept foreign aid to fight the blazes. He'd earlier refused a G7 offer of $22 million following a spat with French President Emmanuel Macron. But following a meeting between the governors and Mr. Bolsonaro, the government shifted its position on the aid. Those are your headlines. I'm Carsley Fuller.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands. What's happening in your community? News and information, music and more. You can find us. www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matter. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. Going straight to the phone lines as promised. Caller, good morning. Welcome back to For the Record.
Yes, good morning again, Mr. O'Connor.
Good morning again.
That won't be long.
No problem.
I had something else to say to you, but you went on a break.
Oh, sorry about that.
Yeah, so, well, the size of the garbage dump is not my greatest concern.
Mm-hmm.
My greatest concern with the garbage dump is the health problems it will cause in the future.
Yes.
Right now, at Cayman Bay, the international school there are days that they have to let the children stay inside because of the stench that the wind blows in that area.
Yeah, when the wind direction changes, yeah.
Yes, and right now it is known that Cayman has a lot of restaurants. And these restaurants send a lot of garbage on a daily basis to the garbage dump. So I don't know what kind of solution the government has, but like I told you before, Mr. Orrett Connor, whether it's a new garbage dump or whether it's the same one now. As long as they're putting more garbage into the garbage dump on a daily basis than what they're taking out, the same problem will occur, and that garbage dump that they have there today is not going anywhere. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, caller. Again, you have some very, very valid points, and you keep hammering them home, and I trust and I hope that, people are listening, those who have some responsibility for it are listening as well, and it is always good to keep the people informed of what is happening in the Cayman Islands, what is happening in relation to issues that have a profound effect on the health and well-being of the population. Another caller, good morning, welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, Mr. Osteen. Good morning to our listeners. How are you doing, sir?
Good morning. I'm fine, sir. How are you?
Yes, sir. It's okay. I would just like to mention to the public I am having honors done for the late Mr. John McLean. We are being a seafaring island, and I have the seventh largest tanker in the world will be passing north of Cayman Brac this evening to sound its horns 10 times, seventh largest, 10 times horn blows at 1,080 feet long and 193 feet wide, empty coming from China, going to United States to load American crude oil. And he was a great member of the government of the Cayman Islands, and we are a seafaring island, so he will be honored by this ship passing by this evening. That is my honors and respect to the late Mr. John McLean. And also today marks three of among some of the biggest tankers in the world passing. That one is number 7. And we have number 6 passing around lunchtime north of Cayman Brac, going to India from Mexico. And we have the 2 7th largest this evening. One is coming from Singapore, one from China, to load American crude oil and go back to Korea and go back to China. And quite interesting, a Cayman Island registered ore carrier is passing here day after tomorrow loaded with soybeans. So that trade between China and United States has resumed. And the Cayman Island flag ore carrier at 82,000 tons, 750 feet long, is passing Cayman Brac carrying soybeans to China.
Okay, thank you very much. Just one question. You said the ship that will be sounding its horn will be near to Cayman Brac. Are they going to be that we're near to Grand Cayman, that they, Cayman, especially East End, could hear it?
No, sir. It will be passing probably about 8 miles north of the bluff. That will be this evening, probably around 5 o'clock this evening. And the other two one will be passing north of Cayman Brac and the other one south of Cayman Brac. Not near Grand Cayman, but I will be getting one to come by Grand Cayman as early as possible to honor this great man, as I always do with our great men from the island and their wives, etc., having these salutes and honors and tributes done for them. Also to say, Mr. O.C., you're aware of the billionaire David Koch that passed away at age 79, one of the richest men in the world?
Yes, I am. Big Republican supporter.
Like some of your history, I hear you. That's so nice that you're giving the public this information. Congratulate you and whoever else involved in giving these stories of the past. Well, I'm going to give one of the past now. Mr. David Koch, which passed away at 79, worth $60 billion. His ship was here in 1978, named after his mother. The ship was named Mary R. Koch, which was almost 1,100-foot long tanker, named Mary R. Koch, and that means Mary Robinson Koch, which was the mother of David Koch that just recently died.
Okay.
She came here around 1978 and was very busy with Cayman Energy and transshipping crude oil.
Okay.
Yes, so that's a bit of history of one of David Koch's and his mother's family-owned company owned the Mary R. Koch that came to Cayman Brac around 1978 for Cayman Energy. And also to say, thinking back and doing my history, because I got a vast knowledge of the history, that Cayman Brac and Little Cayman produced the most sea captains of anywhere in the world per capita for its size. In years gone by, that's 50, 75 years ago. And Cayman Brac also produced the most mooring masters, tanker docking masters from Cayman Brac, a number of 7. Some of them have deceased and some is still around here. To mention Captain Harold Banks, he's still around, and he was the one that taught the other 6 Caymanian mooring masters, like Captain Fred Scott, Elmond Scott in Grand Cayman, and Captain Anderson Radley Scott, my brother, which is the only Caymanian seaman in the world that is still active in Texas now in a hotel waiting to go out in the Gulf. And Captain Larry Foster, which used to be the district officer for Little Cayman, and Captain Ashton Bodin, that was a mooring master, tanker docking master. The late Captain Robert Ebanks was one. Bernstein Banks was one, to name most of them. That was an interesting thing, that Cayman Brac, a small island with a population approximately 1,800 then, had 7 mooring masters from here that would go on board the tanker and take over from the captain and give orders and instructions as to how to prepare the ship for maneuvering, docking one tanker alongside the other. I worked with every one of those mooring masters. I was assistant to all of those, so I have a lot of experience of being assistant and know all about...
Question, is there a difference between a mooring master and a pilot?
It is. Pilots are normally used for bringing ships in to port. A port pilot, that's most of the reference of a ship's pilot for bringing ships into harbors, rivers, and bringing them into the dock. The mooring master is a specific job of its kind. And my brother, Captain
what's the difference between so you said a pilot is for bringing ships into the dock. So what's the purpose of a mooring?
Mooring master is considered where he brings the ship under his command with his experience and expertise in commanding the ship, giving orders to the helmsman at the wheel, the man at the wheel of the ship, instructions as port 5, midship, steady as she goes, half ahead, dead slow ahead, to coordinate the speeds and bring one alongside the other. Mooring master means for the mooring of the ship when the ropes are tied together and the two ships are engaged.
Got you. Got you. Caller, I want to thank you very much, for that explanation. We have to go. Time for us to take a commercial break. Folks, please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
In 1996, Rotary Club Central led the way, initiating a disaster fund to prepare and assist our community toward recovery. The Rotary Clubs of the Cayman Islands then expanded this valuable instrument, the Rotary Cayman Disaster Fund. Thereafter, Rotary District 7020, a group of 86 clubs over 10 countries in 16 islands across the Northwest Caribbean, grew this idea, the Rotary District 7020 Disaster Fund. Today, this Rotary Central idea has worked relief and recovery, assisting communities throughout this region. Rotary, with you before, during, and after. Rotary, connecting the world.
Have you seen the latest? Cayman has been ranked the most expensive place to live. It's time to buy smart. It's time to buy Ropers. Find everything for your home and kitchen at low prices at Ropers. Ropers Janitorial, 949-2511. Email janitorial@ropers.ky. Clean up your spending with Ropers Janitorial, 949-2511. Ropers Janitorial also offers complete janitorial service for commercial, industrial, and residential. They get the job done right every time. Ropers Janitorial, 949-2511.
At Logic, we make things better for our customers. It's why we're offering free Boost Wi-Fi. With Boost, you get improved Wi-Fi connectivity everywhere in your home, so there's no more dead zones. The only people we're not making this better for is parents. Because now, with seamless Wi-Fi in every room in your home, go to your room isn't really the punishment it used to be. Sorry about that. Sign up now for any Logic Bundle package and get free Boost Wi-Fi for a limited time. Visit logic.ky for details.
Support our port, support our tourism.
The cruise berthing facility will be paid for using cruise passengers' fees and not by funding from the government. Passenger fees currently paid to the Port Authority and Environmental Protection Fund will remain unchanged. This is a win for Cayman. Support our port, support our tourism.
Looking forward, looking bright. Support our port, support our tourism.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system. For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. No guests in the studio. Open line. I was sharing an article with you about the first woman, Caymanian woman, or woman with Caymanian connections to be released from Cuba back in 1967. Her name was Arlene Naomi Ebanks. And I was sharing with you some of the quantities and the items that were rationed in Cuba at the time. And then the article goes on to point out that children under 7 years and adults over 56 years are allowed 1 bottle of milk daily. Eggs, sugar, and fresh cane juice are more readily obtainable, but recently there was no salt. Water also was scarce. The article goes on to say cheese and butter are almost unavailable in Cuba. That was pointed out by her. Medicines are sent from the United States. And the article points out that she has that she had to abandon her home and material possessions in Cuba. And when her daughter and father-in-law departs for the United States, it will be taken over by the Cuban government. And we have heard stories about, jewelry, with people having to leave their wedding rings behind, anything of any value, whether personal or otherwise, had to be left behind. The article goes on to say that no money is allowed out of the country to travelers, and only 20 pounds of luggage was allowed to be brought out. It says that Naomi happened to have one of her embroidered dresses amongst this amount, and on August 19, her brothers took her shopping to see the town. When she returned home, his house was filled with relatives and friends, all of whom brought lovely gifts and shared in a big surprise party that obviously made Naomi very happy and glad to be back home. Goes on to say that the Seventh-day Adventist Church also gave her a cash donation. Naomi is awaiting the opportunity of a job and feels that she is qualified to teach Spanish. She also feels that the other Caymanians in Cuba who desire to return home could get here if their relatives would do so as hers did. And we know that that did happen, and many others. And at this function that I was at, they were family members there were extremely grateful to the Cayman Islands government for what they did at that time to assist the families to return to the Cayman Islands, what they did financially and otherwise. Also, the assistance of the British Embassy in Havana, Cuba at that time, as well. And we hear stories of the British Embassy staff being present to ensure that the people were allowed to leave, because there were many roadblocks that were put in place, including just simply delay of paperwork, having to resend paperwork and things of that nature to family members. And so the British Embassy staff was there, available to ensure that people were allowed to leave without hindrance as well. One of our listeners has also written in to comment on what was said about Cayman Airways, and I will read it for you. It says, "Good morning, OC, just to inform that caller who called about Cayman Airways concerning the delay for most of Cayman Airways flights. For your information, what he does not understand is that it's not only Cayman Airways that has Boeing 737 MAX grounded. It's every airline in the world that has those aircraft. So chartering planes is a big problem. Getting other planes to hire because every airline is hiring planes as well. So the demand for aircraft, what the person is pointing out is that the demand for aircraft is out there, and it is not that easy to simply get aircraft, because so many other airlines have been affected by this situation. Another thing that I wanted to share with you, last week there were conversations on last Friday, yes, it would have been, in relation to members of the Legislative Assembly and some callers expressing frustrations and about the time spent in our Legislative Assembly by our elected officials. And one elected official sent me something, and I want to share that with you. It says that an MLA's work is the littlest in the meeting of the House, meaning that the meetings in the Legislative Assembly is a very small part of a member of the Legislative Assembly's work. These days, it's tedious and demanding in the meetings of the House. But the most important in representing people is the work which MLAs must do outside of the Assembly. Person points out that up to 1 and 2 o'clock at night, to help parents find a child, all sorts of demands are made on members' time, which members must meet, and they do meet those demands. Says Cayman is not what it was years ago. The demand is more, and members are very involved in regional meetings and matters that affect our islands as well. And the writer goes on to point out that if MLAs are doing nothing, then who's helping all those people who visit their offices? MLAs who have to go to various government departments for their constituents, MLAs who daily deal with problems of and for their constituents from birth to death, as well as sicknesses. Those us MLAs that pay attention to not just the wider districts but also matters closely affecting our constituency. Those people who are talking are just talking to talk. And MLA's work is so that was the response in relation to criticisms about members of the Legislative Assembly, the time or lack of time spent in the Legislative Assembly, and the remarks there were that lots of things are being done by MLAs. The work in the Legislative Assembly is only a small part of what members of our Legislative Assembly do outside of the Assembly itself, including assisting families, looking to address issues that people may have as well. And when you talk to most members of our Legislative Assembly, they will tell you that that is precisely what occurs, what transpires, and that a lot of their time spent simply doing that. Now, we know with the advent of advances in technology that you can create various WhatsApp groups and other groups to be able to communicate with your constituents, and that is done as well. But there is nothing more appreciated by constituents than making that personal contact, that face-to-face contact, that visit. And members of the community expect that not only when it is campaign time, but they expect that to occur as often as possible. Making that personal contact with your constituencies is so important, extremely important, as well. We have another caller? Okay, we take the call again. Caller, good morning. Welcome back to For the Record.
Yes, good morning again, Mr. Orrett Connor.
Good morning again.
You're not talking about garbage this time.
That's okay.
Some other kind of garbage, but anyway, right now the Social Service Department allows couples, for example, two women that are married or two men that are married, they allow them to adopt children here in the Cayman Islands.
Okay, if I can correct you for a minute, social services, they're not the ones that they may help in the process in terms of providing checks, but there is something called an adoption board that actually approves adoptions in the Cayman Islands, separate and apart from social services.
Yes, well, by law, that is allowed, I was told. Okay. And they speak about children growing up in homes that are not normal and around activities that are not right. And when it comes to Father's Day, and two females are married, who will that child call for Father's Day, say Happy Father's Day to? And if two males are married on Mother's Day, who will those children say Happy Mother's Day to? So they speak about.
That is if they celebrate. They may not celebrate Father's Day and Mother's Day. They may just call it Parents' Day.
Okay. Well, they say it's not good to raise children in that type of environment. That's what they say. And
Is that the prevailing view? You sure that that's the prevailing view, that it is not that's an unhealthy situation to be in? Because I have I read articles only just recently. I saw a story about children who grew up in a household where both parents were female, and they weren't adversely affected by it at all. They didn't act strangely. They were acceptable of it, simply because that was the environment that they were accustomed to growing up in.
Well, Mr. Orrett Connor, it's not a good example. And I don't care what you say. I don't care what the professionals say. It's not a good example to be setting towards children. I'll give you another example. Right now, homosexuals, if a police officer was to go, if a police officer was to go into a home, and there was homosexuality going on, right? That officer would not be able to arrest them.
Precisely, because our law provides for it to occur in the privacy of your home.
Okay. That's right what you just said. That's right. But if an officer goes into somebody's house now, and they're sitting there watching TV, smoking a spliff of weed, not saying that I encourage them smoking weed now, They grab them and arrest them and carry them to court and carry them and lock them up. Right? Listen to me now. I'm talking straight man to man. In the eyes of God, which one do you think is worse? Talking straight now, Mr. Orrett Connor. Answer correctly now and in a righteous way. Which one you think is worse in the eyes of God?
Well, I would have to be able to decipher exactly what the Bible says about it. I have heard people talk about what the Bible says. I have to be honest with you. I haven't done the research myself in relation to what the Bible says. There are people who say that the Bible outlaws homosexuality. I'm not sure of that because I haven't done the research yet in that regard.
Okay, Mr. Orrett Connor. Let me show you something.
But if you're also following the precept of the Bible that your body is the temple of God, then smoking ganja to a certain extent, that means that you may be abusing your body, even though we know that it can be used for medicinal purposes as well. But if you're using it as a recreational drug, then you're also violating your body as a temple as well.
Yes, because the Bible says, "Do not make your body a chimney." Okay, but the main reason God destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah was because of homosexuality. When the two angels went there to visit God's servant, and the people, the men, saw the two angels walk into his house, they came and they said, the men from Sodom and Gomorrah asked God's servant to send those two men back outside. They want to have sex with them. Right? And God's servant said to him, "No, I would rather give you my two virgin daughters." Okay? That's how serious that is in the eyes of God.
Call a question for you. Do you believe that homosexuality, that it is a choice that people make, or that it is a biological, it's a part of your biological makeup? You hear young children, or people will tell you that from the very early age they felt different, despite the fact that their bodily appearance may have been of one gender, they felt an inclination towards the other. Do you believe that it is a natural occurrence, or if it is by choice? Because if it is by choice, if you think that it is by choice, then a person from a young age, do they really make that conscious choice?
Well, Mr. Orrett Connor, I study the Bible, and I believe everything in the Bible, okay? And I'm not ashamed to say it. What these people, when these people do this, it is by choice, and it's a curse. Okay? It's a curse, and it's their own choice in life also. But the curse and the choice can only be removed by repentance and confessions of sins. Okay? Jesus never came here and got tortured because hell is such a wonderful place to go, you know. And remember, when you go to hell, that's not 3 million years and then you come out. That is forever. So what Jesus went through in the torment that he went through, in the torturing that he went through, was so people do not go to hell. Because of the seriousness of being in hell forever.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah. Thank you very much, caller. Way past our break, 5 minutes past the break, but allowed him to go on. And he has his points, he has his views, and it is always good to ensure that we allow them to express those as well. Folks, please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
At Seaboard Marine, customers often ask us questions about their shipments.
I have various items coming from different suppliers that I need to ship to Cayman. Do you offer consolidation?
Yes, Seaboard Marine offers consolidation for full and less than container loads. We can hold your packages at our Miami warehouse until everything arrives and ship it all in one go. And we have the best rates to Grand Cayman. Visit seaboardmarine.com for more information.
Shipping shore to shore, Seaboard.
Sometimes having a middleman is not a bad thing, especially when it comes to insurance. Do you know that when it comes to cost, ease, speed, and peace of mind, insurance brokers ranked higher than when customers buy direct? So, for all your insurance needs, call Fidelity Insurance. We're the middleman you want. Call us today at 949-7822. Fidelity. We're good for you.
Hey, are those new glasses on Will?
Yeah, we went to Optical Outlook. Wham, bam, easy exam. Finally, an exam he could pass. And we had the glasses the next day. Easiest part of our back-to-school shopping for sure.
Book your child's eye exam today at Optical Outlook. Call 746-2020. Get half off a complete pair of glasses with any student's eye exam now until August 31st. Come see the difference with Optical Outlook, located in Caymanian Village.
Terms and conditions apply.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system. For information that matter. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. I am checking to see whether or not we have received any updates since the 24th of August in relation to the verification process. On the 24th of August, I think it was 93.something% verification. Nothing since then in that regard. Hopefully we will hear some more in relation to the whole verification process as well. So we shared with you the story of Naomi and her family. Other families celebrated later on in coming to the Cayman Islands. Some remained here and are still here. Others went on to other places like the United States of America. And again, remain extremely grateful. There's another article I wanted to share with you all, and I hope I can find it. And it had to do with the retirement of Inspector Carla Nixon. And I had that to share with you, and unable to find it yet, but will continue to look for it as well. Another story here that we have spoken about before. Don't think I shared this one with you. There's something called the TRNVR. I think it was the Trinidad Royal Navy. Something to do with the reserve during the war, World War II. And there's a story here written in relation to a gentleman by the name of Irvin H. Smith, who was born on the 12th of April 1923, eldest son of a family of 6 brothers and 5 sisters. I think he would have been the husband of the late artist Smith as well, and he certainly was a member of the reserve, the Naval Reserve in Trinidad. I believe we have a caller. Let's go to the phone lines. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Yeah, good morning, O.C. How are you?
Hey, good morning, Lord Len. How are you?
Well, all right. Yeah, man. I'm listening to you bringing back some stories, man.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, my grandmother and grandfather came back from Isle of Pines, via Mexico.
Okay. What year?
And I was 6 or 7, 68, somewhere around there.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and they had spent something like 4 to 6 years in Cuba. You know? Matter of fact, 2 of my uncles were born in Cuba. My mom was born in Grand Cayman, and then they moved to Cuba, you know?
Okay.
So, my grandfather, he originated from Jamaica, St. Elizabeth, you know?
Uh-huh.
And, you know, they used to do farming in Jamaica, and he was a farmer, you know, well into it because he had quite a few brothers and stuff like that. But his intention was to go to Cuba and get connected with the farming over there. But it was quite a long story after Fidel took over Cuba, because my grandmother wanted to really come back to Cayman, but apparently my grandfather didn't seem too keen about that, because I guess he had planned. He said he wasn't going back to Jamaica. So
and he was born. Where was he born?
He was born in St. Elizabeth,
in Jamaica. Okay.
Yeah, the Moxons. Yeah. So, but they had to go through Mexico, and it was a sort of mix-up. I mean, you can remember now I was about 16, 17 and time, so, you know, what I understood from my parents that the Cuban government was sort of, or the people in charge of the government, were doing some raids, you know, on people's place, especially the people that were planning on leaving, you know. And this wasn't something sort of, it seemed to me that it wasn't something that was orchestrated by the government. This is just how the guards or whoever was in charge. And my grandmother told us that they had taken a watch from her. And she said she wrote Fidel Castro a letter, and she was demanding that they return her watch. Apparently, he didn't seem to know anything about it, but he investigated and she got the watch back.
Oh, wow, that's amazing. So a lot of these things were being done by locals. They were taking advantage of the situation.
Exactly. You know, to make it look as if, like, you know, it was the government that were doing it. So a lot of stories ended up coming out of it, you know, and I don't really know the full story, but from what I gathered from what my parents and grandparents told me, that it had really become, you know, hard to live over there, you know. And my mom went over there in 1959 to try to convince them to come then, but they wouldn't come then because they knew that Fidel Castro wasn't planning on really harboring too much, I guess, outsiders, because if you were born there, you were sort of compelled to stay there, you know, and that's why a lot of people, Cubans decided to go to Florida. Florida were more or less their type of lifestyle that they had grown to know. But when Fidel took over, that whole scene changed, you know. And I think he had a right to take over when he took over, because really what the Americans were doing were just, you know, I don't want to use the word robbing, but, you know, the Cuban people were sort of left out in sort of deprived of a lot of stuff, you know. You know, all the big farming and everything was controlled by the Americans. All the hotels were controlled by them.
No, his intentions were certainly genuine. Somewhere along the road, the whole socialist agenda got a little bit railroaded, though.
I think so. When the Russians came in to try to assist them, that was what got the Americans sort of like more, you know, sort of bullish state. They wanted to sort of show Cuba that they were in charge of Cuba, and you know, and Fidel showed them otherwise. I mean, you've already realized that, you know, Cubans have really played a big part in especially Florida over the last, I would say, 50, 60 years, you know. And Caymanians that lived in Cuba, that I can understand from, you know, some of them would go back because the sort of changed it. And some of them do go back, you know, from time to time, you know.
And you know that there's that Cuban government has a policy in relation to those persons born in Cuba requiring visas to return to Cuba, depending on if you left before the revolution or if you left after the revolution as well. But they have a policy. In one instance, you require a visa. In the other instance, you don't require a visa. So people like our good friend, remember John Henry Ebanks, when he came to Cayman, John Henry Ebanks came. We were, as a matter of fact, we were still over at Dobson Hall. We were at Dobson Hall when John Henry, came. Yes. So that would have probably been before 1959. If he wants to go back to Cuba, he has to get a visa. But we reached the break, Lord Len, so I'm going to ask you to leave us there. Great with the conversation. Do some more research on it and share some more information, about your family and their experience in leaving Cuba as well. Folks.
Yeah, man. Thanks, man. Bye-bye.
Folks, please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
I'm going to Vamp Motors to test drive the new 7-seater Rush.
They have some really sweet deals going on now, not true?
Yep, on SUVs. And they sweeten the deal by giving you a warm oven-baked cookie with each test drive.
Better test drive more than one, just to be sure.
Take a test drive for a sweet surprise this month at Vamp Motors. Test drive any SUV and receive a freshly baked cookie. It's our way of saying thanks for dropping by to check out our huge sale on every SUV in stock. Save up to $4,400 during Vamp's summer SUV sale. That's every SUV in stock on sale for thousands off or cash back. Sweeten the deal only at Vamp Motors, Walkers Road.
At Seaboard Marine, customers often ask us questions about their shipments.
Hi, I'm thinking of buying a car from the States. Which port do you ship out of?
Hi, we ship out of Miami, Houston, and Brooklyn. Just let us know your port of choice and we can provide you with a quotation and answer any questions you may have on insuring and protecting your vehicle during its journey.
Shipping shore to shore, Seaboard.
In 1996, Rotary Club Central led the way initiating a disaster fund to prepare and assist our community toward recovery. The Rotary Clubs of the Cayman Islands then expanded this valuable instrument, the Rotary Cayman Disaster Fund. Thereafter, Rotary District 7020, a group of 86 clubs over 10 countries in 16 islands across the Northwest Caribbean, grew this idea, the Rotary District 7020 Disaster Fund. Today, this Rotary Central idea has worked relief and recovery, assisting communities throughout this region. Rotary, with you before, during, and after. Rotary, connecting the world.
Headlines.
With the latest headlines.
All
the news when you want it. Tune in to Radio Cayman for hourly headlines of the day's top stories.
One of Cayman's bright and shining young stars.
Local, regional, international. Turning to international news. Updates on the hour between 7 a.m. and 6 p.m. on weekdays. Radio Cayman News.
Headlines.
Your voice, your choice for today's biggest news.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. Update for you. We started the show this morning by advising you of the plans of the Prime Minister, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson, to suspend Parliament. And I see here in the Guardian newspaper that the Queen has consented to the suspension of Parliament for 5 weeks. And the headlines, some of the bullet points on that headline goes out to say that the government will prorogue Parliament on September with the Queen's speech on the 14th of October. And that suspension could prevent attempts to block no deal Brexit. I've also pointed out to you that by the way, we have closed off the phone lines at this point because I want to share something with you in relation to the retirement of Inspector Carla Nixon in 1967 as well. So, as was pointed out earlier by another article, the decision of the Queen, the royal prerogative to suspend Parliament, cannot be challenged in a court of law. They may challenge the advice that was given, whether or not that advice was either constitutional or whatever, but they cannot challenge the order that the Queen has made now as well. So that'll be extremely interesting to see. Still, don't be surprised if you end up with a general election being held in October in the United Kingdom as well. Okay, before we close off the show, come on up. I'm trying to find my article. Tradewinds newspaper. Want to remind you, you're listening to For the Record. We have no guests in the studio with us today. We had a caller who was attempting to get through. Is that caller still there, Ms. Susan, or we've lost that caller as well? So still, okay, here we go. Inspector Nixon feted at a farewell, and this was in the 24th of August, 1967, edition of the Tradewinds newspaper. And it says, a jovial crowd gathered at the residence of Chief of Police and Mrs. R.S. Besant on the evening of August the 14th to wish Inspector Carla A. Nixon a happy retirement after 32 years of service in the Cayman Islands Police Force. The guests nodded approval as tributes were paid to the retiring inspector by Mr. E.O. Panton, Sergeant Vernon Ebanks, Chief Besant, and his honor, Mr. John Cumber, all of whom gave a cheery welcome to the new inspector, Mr. Roy Archer, and sang for them both, for he's a jolly good fellow. Although retiring from the police department, Inspector Nixon has not fully retired. He is still maintaining his position as a customs officer. So he retired from the police, but remained as a customs officer. Besides his duties in these two departments of the public service. He has also served dutifully as the home guard in the Home Guard during World War II, and has been a source of help and advice to many. The inspector bade farewell to his colleagues and thanked them for their gift check of 50 guineas. 50 guineas. I think it was 21 shillings was a guinea or something like that. I believe so. Remember my old calculations in the old currency. It says the Nixon's home is in the site of the police station, and doubtlessly he will spend much of his spare time watching the comings and goings across the street. They have 4 sons and a daughter, and the people in the photograph included Miss Rosemary Miller, Inspector Carlin Nixon, his wife Miss Essie, his son Kirkland, Chief Besant, Eleanor Foster, Mr. E.O. Panton, Sharon Miller, Georgette Buckridge. Of course, many of these women, their surname is different now because they got married since that time. His Honor, Mr. Cumber, Miss and Norma Terry, member of the police force stooping were Vernon Ebanks, James Terry, Edward Johnson, Radliger Zung, and Mr. Carly Ebanks as well. So that was in 1967, the retirement of Mr. Carlin Nixon, a very, very imposing figure when it comes to his physical stature as well. And of course, in those days, most of the police forces, they were called police force then because they were also a force to be reckoned with, but those were the days when you felt, it was felt, and the prevailing view was that to fight crime, you had to be forceful. Now, different approaches have taken place since then, but in those days, when you recruited police officers, you looked for the most sturdiest, the biggest police officers. As a matter of fact, the late Miss Anna Hulda Bodden, I believe, I recall seeing a remark that she made in the Legislative Assembly at some point in time about bringing British police officers to the Cayman Islands and wanted to ensure that they were big, huge police officers, as well. In terms of size, so it was familiar for them to do that in those days. Seems as if I was right about the 21 shillings to a guinea. So Inspector Carlin Nixon was given 50 guineas. That's quite a handsome amount to be given in those days. But it goes again to show you that how he was held in high regard by his peers in the police force. And always remember also that Caymanians at that time, we were very caring, generous society. We still are to a certain extent. But for some, or the approach to life these days is how much they can acquire rather than how much they can give. Never got the opportunity to talk about the buses, school buses on the road, but some people are questioning, number one, whether or not cameras should be installed on board school buses so that the behavior of students can be recorded. Any infractions on the bus can be recorded and that they can be addressed. The other question is whether or not there should be cameras installed on buses so that those persons who violate the rules of the road by crossing a bus when it is stopped to let off its passengers, that can be recorded. Their license plate number can be recorded, and that they can be prosecuted for it. That is the only way that you're going to get people to change their bad habits. If you hit them where it hurts in the pocket, prosecute them, and if necessary, suspend their license for them as well. Folks, I want to thank you, those of you who participated by calling in, many of you who participated simply by listening, and I trust that you enjoyed the show this morning. I want to thank you for allowing Radio Cayman and, by extension, For the Record, into your homes, into your vehicles as you traverse the busy roads of the Cayman Islands, into your places of work, whether it be an office cubicle or if you're working in the outdoors. I also want to remind you that we are our brothers and our sisters' keepers. There is always someone out there who's less fortunate than we are, and I ask you to extend a helping hand to them. If you can't do that, then I suggest you donate to a worthy charity, because we always want to consider those who need, not necessarily those who want or even those who crave. I say to you, have a great day. Continue to support your radio station, Radio Cayman. Join Sterling Dwayne Banks at 12:15. I think Mr. Patrick Smith and another gentleman, Mr. Bader, they're guest hosting for Sterling, doing an excellent job. So join them at 12:15 for talk today. And as usual, we ask the good Lord to bless these three beautiful, wonderful Cayman Islands.
The YMCA of the Cayman Islands is expanding its after-school program to a new side of the Field of Dreams. This program will provide a variety of acting learning opportunities, designated homework time,